Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
And I'm kind of interested to know what's motivating you now. I know that sounds like a stupid question, but you've been to 3 straight Grey Cups. Are you hearing the people that say they're getting old, they're over the hill, that that's past, or is there something else motivating you?
Well, I mean, I think as a professional athlete or even an athlete that plays a sport, like, yeah, you want to have fun, sure, but you also play to win. You play to win a championship because you're a competitor. And we got a locker room full of competitors that the only reason we play this game is to win the Grey Cup. I mean, that's literally it. I mean, yeah, we provide for our families, but you're not satisfied, not winning at all. It's a failure. So for that reason alone, I mean, I know that's why we have been so successful, because we have so many competitors that, aren't waiting for motivation. The motivation is inside of them. And, that is a key differentiator, I think, having the right group of guys. And in terms of, these guys are getting old, this and that, I mean, you can say what you want, but I think our record speaks for itself. Guys are still playing at an extremely high level. People can latch on to whatever, tagline, headline that they want, but we're playing good football, and you still have to respect that.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League. Friday, the Saskatchewan Roughriders at the Ottawa Red Blacks. Montreal at Calgary. The Hamilton Tiger Cats at the Toronto Argonauts. The one I'm most interested in the result is the BC Lions at the Edmonton Elks. If Edmonton wins that game, and I haven't even looked at the point spread yet, it's chaos in the CFL West standings if Edmonton wins this game.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. It sure is. Thank you, Rick Regan. Welcome to the RP Show, coming to you from beautiful, lush, and I thought it was going to be sunny South Florida. Hopefully it will be soon. We're off and running with episode number 1086 of your favorite daytime sports talk show here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube Live. Darren Moose DuPont joins us. He is in the NHL's Bermuda Triangle. And, I didn't know whether to cover up the Jeep or not, Moose. And so I did not. I looked at the weather. It was supposed to be sunny and 31 all afternoon, and now it started sprinkling. So I'm just going to put this caveat out here. That is a caveat, how about a warning? If I have to duck for cover because of rain, be prepared to take over. Because it from time to time happens, as you know. Okay, other than that, we're good to go. The guests today are the radio voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Josh Getzoff is going to join us very early on in NHL training camps, the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Josh Getzoff. And our good friend Greg Zahn, World Series champion, host of the Zontourage, and former Sportsnet great. Those are the guests. The stuff I want to get to is in the quick six, so can you hit the show horn, please? Director Jordan, and we'll go. As always, if anything tickles your fancy, fire us a text at 902-518-3033. The text line's brought to you by EMJ Marketing. They will find the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Look up Joe at emjmarketing.com. Aside from all the other stuff that everybody's talking about, I need your help, Darren, and the audience. We're very early getting into audience takeover here and participation. I need an NFL viewing guide, and I'm going to tell you why. It was one thing that you caught me with my pants down on Monday. I thought your Titans lost to the LA Chargers. They had a 5-point lead, the Chargers, I think, with 3 minutes to go. I'm like, oh, this is over. And then this morning outside the gym, my good friend Chris Sanford, who's a very big fan of this show, but also of the Cats and Bolts podcast, Serena and I, the podcast we host about the Panthers and the Lightning, he wanted to put a chicken sandwich on the game tonight. And I'm like, the Giants and San Francisco 49ers. And I'm like, Chris, your Giants are 0-2, man. Do you want to keep giving? He's like, no, we're not. We won last week. I'm like, what? I was watching one of those panel shows on CBS or NBC Sunday, and the Giants were getting clobbered by the Cardinals late in the game. And there's another game the Giants came back and won. So I don't know. I feel like I just got to wait till Monday morning and get up and check the score app to see who won these wild games. How do you watch NFL on Sunday to stay on top of everything?
I know. I usually watch the Titans. If they're not playing or something else, Red Zone's been pretty good to try and follow everything. But you get mixed up so much with this game and that game. And I don't remember who had the late touchdown and who did that a couple minutes ago. So while it's entertaining, I got to check the score app Sunday night, Monday morning, just to be on top of who won every game.
You know, and what's interesting about that, pardon me, if anybody doesn't have the score app, download it. Obviously, I have a personal affinity for the score. I used to work there along with a lot of my great friends. Pretty much anybody who's good in the broadcast industry, yourself excluded because you're not old enough, Darren, worked for the score. But they put out an ad the other day. I don't know if you saw it. It says, the GOAT of sports apps. And I'm like, you are. They are not bragging or cocky by saying that. They are the OG. They're the GOAT. They're everything when it comes to sports apps. Man, I'm on it multiple times a day. So I think that's what it is. I just got to follow on the score app and just wait till all the games end. Which, by the way, coming up, we got a lot of CFL talk, obviously, because it is September. I'll say this. I was reading the game notes, which I love. It's one of the highlights of my week is reading the game notes for the upcoming games in the CFL. And you were talking about no leads are safe and comebacks. The BC Lions scored 20 points in 2 minutes and 6 seconds last week to beat Ottawa. And the Edmonton Elks scored 10 points in 80 seconds to beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders in that game. It was just absolute wildness, man, in pro football right now. And maybe tomorrow when we have more time on a Football Friday, we'll examine why this is happening. But we move on to point two. Kevin Gausman tossed 6 shutout innings, out-pitching Michael King as they traded strikeouts all night, and the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Yankees 6-1 for their 5th consecutive victory. Locked in a heated playoff race, the Blue Jays scored 5 times in the final 2 innings and stayed a game ahead of Texas and Seattle for the second American League wild cards. I can't believe I have never seen a Blue Jays season because we follow it casually, where you think they're out, then you think they're in, then you think they're out. My gosh, at least this madness is going to end soon. And I think it will for Aaron Boone, too. The Yankees skipper was ejected in the 2nd inning by plate umpire Lance Barrett for arguing balls and strikes. It was the 7th ejection this year for Boone, who has been tossed 33 times in 6 seasons as a big league skipper, all with New York. Is he going to be fired or not? I got to think he will be. Yes or no?
Yeah, I don't know. I like Aaron Boone. I think they like him in New York, and they don't just make hastily decisions around the Yankees. But the results haven't been there. This is a massive underperformance this year when a team was thought to be a contender for the World Series. So I don't know, but I would lean towards, he'll probably be gone.
Last year, Aaron Judge becomes the home run king, and I think I've heard his name twice all year. Injured at the All-Star game, right? He just, what happened? And by the way, a lot of shine is off the Vladdy star, too, I might add. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was a late scratch from the Blue Jays lineup Wednesday night against the Yankees because of right knee discomfort. He had an MRI during the game, and the team expects to know more today. The slugger had been slated to bat 3rd as the DH for the Blue Jays. That's another one. People jumping off the Vladdy train. Choo-choo. Love the kid. All-star again. Won the home run derby. What have you done for me lately? That's sports. And to point 3, you had to do a little studying on this. I'll be honest, this came across my timeline because with my subscription to the Canadian Press, this headline popped out. Tampa Bay Lightning captain Steven Stamkos said he's disappointed about the lack of discussions with the team about a new contract. Stamkos' current $68 million 8-year deal ends after this season, and he said there have been no conversations about an extension. He's a Toronto kid. Everybody knows that. So they're parked up in Toronto, I would think, over this story. Stamkos said, quote, to be honest, I'm disappointed in the lack of talk in that regard. It was something that I expressed at the end of last year that I wanted to get something done before training camp started. Bolts GM Julien Brisebois said it would be great if Stamkos could spend his entire career with the team, but indicated there won't be any talks until after the season. You wanted to go get some background on this because clearly this isn't front page news. What I'm finding in Florida when it comes to the NHL, news happens here, and if it hits the light of day at all, it usually doesn't, but it's at least 24 hours later. Okay, so Stammer said this the other day, and now I saw my good friend Pierre Lebrun has jumped on this story. He was like, huh? Is it a tempest in a teapot, do you think, or not? This is the face of the franchise, multiple Stanley Cup winner, Toronto kid. Is it just posturing, do you think, Darren, or do they have big problems brewing in Tampa Bay?
I'm going to lean, and I don't usually go like this far, but I think they got problems in Tampa. I read the release and the article and the quotes, and I didn't like what I read. Stamkos said, I can't write my own contract. That's not a good sign. Brisebois is quoted in the release saying, Steven and I have this, and this isn't the exact quote, but Steven and I have the same goal of bringing another cup to Tampa. Not of having the same goal of having Stamkos finish his career in Tampa. It's of bringing another cup. And he said he wants to see the season, see where the pieces fall, see how the cap situation is. And I read into that, you want to see where Steven's at. How many points does he put up? Does he fit into your long-term plans? They have cap problem. And all of the quotes from Julien Brisebois in that press release didn't scream to me, this is your face of the franchise, this is the guy who's leading the way. You're wondering, we don't know where he fits in. And Stamkos is kind of feeling like an afterthought here, and I just didn't like the way it came. It sounded to me when I read it.
Well, I went and looked it up. He's played 81 games the last 2 seasons, so he's been durable of late. He's over a point per game. He's the captain of the team, face of the franchise. I would have thought he's still in the territory of give him what he wants.
Right.
You know, and it's not unreasonable based on what other guys are getting paid right now. I understand he's 34. It's not that young, but it's not that old. I don't think he's out of the prime of his career. So anyways, let's take it to the streets. The daily poll question today for Key Auto Group is, with the Key Auto Group, I should tell you, most vehicles receive a lifetime engine warranty guaranteed. Go to keyautogroup.ca/thekeyadvantage for eligibility and maintenance requirements. The Key Auto Group here to take care of you. Poll question is, do you think Steven Stamkos finishes his career as a Tampa Bay Lightning? I voted yes. And the last I saw on Twitter, the results were around 50-50. Clark, is there an update on YouTube, what they're saying? I know we're only 10 minutes into the show here. But what are they saying there? Did I lose Clark? 64% saying yes, that he will finish his career as a Tampa Bay Lightning. And I just think that it is posturing. I don't really understand this stuff. I do want to move on. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, Darren, but I just don't understand. I mean, you run this show historically, and you give me what I want. I walked into your office 2 years ago and I said, I want to move to Florida. I'm moving to Florida. And you said, okay, here's your equipment. See ya. Right? Like if you were running the Tampa Bay Lightning, do you not give Steven Stamkos what he wants? I thought with the face of the franchise, and I'm sorry, it is the Rod Pedersen show. I think you want to keep these people happy. You know? Yeah. Or no?
Do. The one thing about it is Tampa hasn't had a very favorable cap situation the last few years. We had Kucherov on long-term injury reserve. They've had to bounce guys around, Vasilevsky at times. So the cap situation is not great, but everybody is kind of locked in. One thing I read in there, too, Hedman is going to be due for a contract extension. So Julien Brisebois does have a bit of a tough situation trying to make everybody fit. And maybe part of it is having that conversation about, you know, is Stamkos, if he wants to finish his career, how much of a discount will he take to do it? And Julian Breezewell didn't draft Steven Stamkos, right? That was the Yzerman era, I believe, in Tampa when he came in. So I don't know if Stamkos is a Breezewell guy, you know. But yeah, he's the captain. You've won the Stanley Cup. He wasn't in the one playoff run, but he came back. He's your leader of the team. He had 85 points last year. Steven Stamkos should be at Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's kind of inexcusable that it wasn't a priority to at least have a discussion with him about his contract.
Doesn't make him feel very good, and I don't know if he's old school player or new school player, whereby he needs to be happy to be productive. Interesting of what's going on in Tampa Bay. From the text line, EMJ Marketing text line. Hi, Rod. It's Kirk in Toronto. I miss Greg Zahn on the Blue Jays telecast. I'll enjoy your interview with him. Thank you. That's coming up in hour 2. Brian in Beausejour, Manitoba, watching on Game Plus TV, says, he says, I have the Score app, and I couldn't agree more. Oh, I don't know what I would do without it. I would move on is what I would do. But right now, I really enjoy having it. He also says, good day to the RP groupies, better known as the Rod Squad. Can't wait for my daily fix of the Rod Pedersen Show. Better than that apple to keep the doc at bay. That is the same. Brian in Beausejour, Manitoba. Thank you, Brian. And Bomber Boy, who is in Calgary, writes in and says, NHL training camp opening day. Hope springs eternal for 31 NHL teams today. Well, there's 32 teams, so who's the one team that has no hope? That's what he wrote. 31 teams. I'll wait. By the way, somewhat sad news out of Calgary today. I put it in my sports update, but I'll read it now. Make sure that I have it. I got some breaking news today in the sports update. And the one thing is, following Wednesday's medical and fitness testing, it was determined that Oliver Shillington is unable to participate in the opening of training camp today. As this is a private, personal matter, no further information will be provided. So it's a really big deal in Calgary, and for obvious reasons, that Oliver Shillington hasn't played the last at least year, maybe 2, and he won't be starting the season with the Flames. It's an odd and sad situation from what I understand. Our hockey coverage, by the way, is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. Head down to the tap room on 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, Thursday through Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. The bar is open. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, noon to 8. They have their own bar there, so head on down and sample it, Common Crown Brewing, and check them out ahead of time at commoncrownbrewing.ca. When we come back, deal or no deal for the Canadian Football League Week 16. If you don't know what that is, hang on. I know we have a lot of new viewers. Got a lot of takes on Week 16 games in the CFL, not to mention our picks. Preview of Thursday night football. Giants at 49ers. I want to talk a little dub, a little Canada West. And Lionel Messi did play for Inter Miami last night. And guess what? They won. They beat Toronto FC for Cobb down there at the Pink and Black Stadium, Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Collectors register for the premier sports card convention, where collectors, enthusiasts, and sports lovers unite to celebrate the beauty and value of their treasured items. Taking place in Red Deer, Alberta, in the Parkland Pavilion, September 29th, 30th, and 30th, and October 1st. Get your tickets and more information at premiersportscardcon.ca. Don't wait until the weekend out. Check it out today, premiersportscardcon.ca. You love the collectibles, the sports cards, head on up to Red Deer or down to Red Deer, wherever you are geographically, and check them out. We're talking sports from paradise here. Darren Moose DuPont, same thing. He is in the NHL's Bermuda Triangle. And as you see, Moose, hang on as I bring up my feed here. But where the hell is it? It is time to play CFL Deal or No Deal. Hang on. I didn't put on the robe, but I do have the crown. I figured I was wearing the Bet Regal shirt anyways, so you would get the drift, right? You don't necessarily need the robe. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Kind of know what I'm doing.
On the throne, you wear the robe, and when you go out about town, you wear the golf shirt and that crown.
Exactly. This outfit travels. Okay. It's time to play CFL Deal or No Deal from our official betting partner, Bet Regal, where I give the point spreads for the week's CFL games. Darren decides whether he takes the bet or not, and I decide whether I agree or not. Let's go. It's a doubleheader Friday night, Moose, beginning with Saskatchewan at Ottawa. The Rough Riders are favored by 2. Ottawa's lost 7 in a row. The point spread is 2 points for Saskatchewan. Favored. Deal or no deal?
I'm going to go no deal. Ottawa, despite the loss last week, played better. They were actually in a pretty good spot a lot of that game. And Saskatchewan has struggled on the road. So they lost at home. Things aren't trending the right way. It's going to be a really good game, though.
I'm taking the deal. Sask will win. Ottawa seems like a broken team to me. Sorry. Game of the week, BC at Edmonton. Lions favored by 6.5. Deal or no deal?
No deal. Too much magic in Edmonton right now, and I just think that's too big of a spread for how good Edmonton's played.
No deal from me either. We got to speed it up. Montreal at Calgary Saturday. The Alouettes, 1-point road favorites at McMahon. Deal or no deal?
No deal. I'll take Calgary.
I'm taking the deal because I'm a Fajardo fan. I think it's going to happen. I've bet on Calgary too much. They keep losing. Can't do it anymore. I'm taking the Owls. And Hamilton at Toronto, your game of the week. Toronto favored by 9.5 at BMO. 9.5. Deal or no deal?
No deal. I think it'll be closer than that.
I'm not taking the deal either. Everybody, check out betregal.net. Sign up and start playing for free. Our official betting partner. Boom. You know, Darren, I was just trying to fit that inside a 2-minute Twitter clip. So now you can talk about it for as long as you want.
I know exactly what you were doing.
Yeah, I know I wasn't trying to be rude here. If I'm trying to be rude, you'll know. I want to talk a little more about the Sask-Ottawa game. I get reading the game notes, and now all you CFL fans ignite. It's CFL time. Bring it all in here on the RP Show on this Thursday. We've covered all the other leagues for the most part. I love you, Ryan O'Radio. He says, King Rod, king of sports talk radio. Oh, boy. That's Ryan O'Radio from WQEE in Atlanta. Carries our show daily live. We are the official NHL show of Atlanta. I love that. I was talking to the Panthers about that the other day. We're making the Florida Panthers Atlanta's NHL team. I had to make the Panthers aware of that, right? Because they wonder why it was important that we covered so much Panthers when we're on the radio in Atlanta. I'm like, they don't have a team. So anyways, where was I? CFL, Moose. In the game notes. I want to know what you think about this. Yeah, well, here we go. Another Twitter clip. You look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're favored by 2 at Ottawa. Ted in Red Deer says the Riders better win by at least 2. It doesn't matter what the spread is. It doesn't matter. But Kelly Jeffrey has got to be given some credit here as the offensive coordinator of Sask in his first year. Third-string quarterback. They got 3 receivers on pace to be 1,000-yard receivers. The Saskatchewan Roughriders. How that? We don't even know their names. On the flip side, the defense was supposed to be carrying this team, and Ottawa and Saskatchewan have given up the 2 most points in the entire Canadian Football League. I feel like I kind of expect that out of Ottawa. I don't know what's going on there, and I do feel sorry for their fans because this has gone on far too long. When I say they're a broken team, they had a fight in practice the other day. That's not a team coming together. I don't think. So there's 2 teams with a lot of problems meeting at Lansdowne TD Place on Friday night. That's what I think. It's a train wreck. You got to tune in for that.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be something. And Saskatchewan, as you talked about before, starting to feel their playoff situation not be quite so secure, out in the West. Calgary has stumbled. That helps, but Edmonton is surging. So you need to lock down a playoff spot. Forget about trying to get home field right now. You just got to make sure you get into the dance. But you're right. We don't talk at all about Kelly Jeffrey and about the job he's done as the offensive coordinator for the Riders. I know running the ball, they're middle of the pack. But, yeah, they're on their 3rd-string quarterback. And look what they've been able to accomplish. And they're likely still going to get into the playoff. And if they accomplish that and win a game, it's a great job because this offense has been an offense that's struggled for the last few seasons. So he should have a lot of credit for what's going on in Saskatchewan.
Dabbling in the comments section. Thanks for your thoughts. Monty in Saskatoon says, pick Saskatchewan. Max Hardwick says, long live the king. I agree. That's why I work out every day. It was a particular tough workout at Orange Theory Fitness today. The coach was a real ball buster. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, good. Rod's picking the Riders and the Alouettes. That means the Red Blacks and Stamps will most certainly win. He's a very, very successful troller. He's so good. I know what you're doing, Jeff. You might also be right. I'm sure the Riders would hate it when I pick them to win, because just about every time I do, they don't. Although I did on the Labor Day Classic. But it's a team that you don't know what you're going to get. James in Borden, Manitoba said, Sask had a great defense when their quarterbacks played poor. Now that they're playing well, the defense disappears. I don't really know what's going on in that locker room, nor what that's a signal of. I don't know. But again, tell all your friends, we're talking CFL right now. You folks want it. And as our CEO, Joe Gunna, says, fish where the fish are. That's what our audience wants. You got to give them what they want. You look at the CFL stretch drive. We are in it, man. I don't like getting into the math. We've established I'm terrible at it. If Sask had won last week against Edmonton, they can almost put their heels up the rest of the way. Now they're not. You just said it. Their playoff positioning is in jeopardy. It's like if they win this week, they still don't clinch. The Riders don't. They got to go to Calgary and win, if I read that right. And on the flip side, Hamilton getting their act together has really thrown a wrench into things, too. They're not supposed to be winning with their third-string quarterback, Taylor Powell. Who is this guy? Ottawa's not with Dustin Crum, but because you got three teams in the mix in the East, I'm including Toronto in that, even though they've won the crown already, Darren, there's probably not going to be a crossover berth this year. And to be honest, I think Western teams go into the year thinking there's going to be 4 spots in the West. There generally always is. And this year, it doesn't. Do you think there'll be a crossover berth based on the standings?
I don't at all. I think Montreal needs to make sure they win some games down the stretch. So does Hamilton, both teams, to ensure this is going to be the case. But I think this is good for the Canadian Football League. You're right. I think the West just sits there, and especially as fans and commentators on the league, we chalk it up and say, okay, there's going to be 4 teams. Which one Western team's not going to make the playoffs, and which 2 in the East? But the East being balanced this year with the West, I think, is really, really good for the Canadian Football League. And I'm curious to see, who's going to be out in the West, because it's not often there's 2 teams on the outside looking in.
I know this is what a lot of people came here for today, is the CFL talk. We do more of it tomorrow, but I can't let this go by. Ted in Red Deer says the Riders aren't on their third-string quarterback. Dolegala is better than fine. They made a mistake in training camp ranking them. I'm sorry, Ted, but that's why they're the coaches, and you're not. If Jake Dolegala was the second-string quarterback, he'd have been starting touchdown Atlantic. I'm sorry. You can't go back now. Number 1 was Trevor Harris. He got hurt. Number 2 was Mason Fine. He got hurt. So then they went to Jake Dolegala. He's the third-string quarterback, so don't try and put any other spin on it, because you can't. Robin in Prince Albert writes in, and he says, what do the Riders do with Trevor Harris next season if Dolegala continues to do well? That is not a conversation I'm interested in having today, not here. Darren in Utah says, does Rod use the Costanza effect? Do the opposite of what you feel is right? Sometimes. Absolutely sometimes I do. And that's why I know this show is growing. Like, listen, everybody, if you can just allow me a micro local moment. And Darren understands this. When I was doing my old radio show, The Sports Cage, we had on the CKRM radio in Regina, we had an agricultural director by the name of Jim Smalley. Think Les Nessman with red hair. And he couldn't get over the things that I would say on the radio every day. He's like, Roddy, did you ever meet Smalley? You must have, Darren. You must have met him over the time.
Yeah.
He's like, Roddy, you break every rule of news and talk radio. You break every rule. And yet your ratings keep going up. Yeah, Jim, it's the only way I know how to do it. So now with this show, I do a little bit of the opposite of what you would think, or certainly most everybody would do, and the ratings continue to go up. And we're now in 2 million more homes. I've got establishments writing me from across Canada that are walking in and seeing us on the TV. I'm like, I don't know why. Why the hell would you listen or watch this? I have no idea why you would. You know what I mean? We're breaking every rule. Everybody's talking about the NHL today. Why aren't you? I don't know. Oh. Ted says, by the way, he's trolling as well. Ted in Red Deer. He says, oh, yeah, I can. The only thing is I was hoping for a Roy Shivers story. I was thinking about Shiv this morning, the former Rough Riders general manager and Hall of Fame personnel man. Well, here's one. How is he not in the Saskatchewan Rough Riders Plaza of Honor? I don't even like him, and he doesn't even like me. Let's just say it the way that it is, but I think he should be in there. So why don't you ask the Rough Riders why he's not in there? I'll wait. Because of childish, immature grudges. From Joseph David in the chat says, Rod has no master. That's not entirely true, but mostly true. Moose, I'm going to let you go. I purposely left some of the quick six topics out. We'll get to them when you come back later in hour two.
You bet. See you then.
All right, we will be talking some NHL. Is Josh lined up yet, Clark, or should I do a sports update now? What do you think? Okay, here's what we got going on. I said we had some breaking news, and I'll get to that in a second. Number one, though, the Toronto Blue Jays look to complete a 3-game sweep of New York with a win tonight at Yankee Stadium. The Jays picked up their 5th in a row on Wednesday night with a 6-1 win. It's Jose Barrios against Garrett Cole tonight. Jays 1 game up on Texas and Seattle for the second of 3 American League wildcard berths. Here's the breaking news from the National Lacrosse League. The Saskatchewan Rush will face the Calgary Roughnecks in the first ever professional lacrosse game in southern Saskatchewan. On Saturday, November 25th, the 2 NLL clubs will take part in a preseason game at the Moose Jaw Event Center. Ticket pre-sales will be available to Rush season ticket holders on September 28th at 10 a.m. The Moose Jaw Event Center is home to the Western Hockey League's Moose Jaw Warriors and seats 4,465 spectators as 21 private suites and 132 club suites. It's a real beauty, Clark, as you know.
Approved.
And from the Flames camp following Wednesday's medical and fitness testing, it was determined that Oliver Shillington's unable to participate in the opening of training camp, and as this is a private personal matter, no further information will be provided. Our sports update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale, 4 of which sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. We'll return in a moment to the RP Show on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
The EMJ marketing text line is full with your comments. We'll get to those. And the Key Auto Group poll is an interesting one. 52% saying no, Steven Stamkos is not going to finish his career with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He said he's upset at the lack of contract talks. Said that on the day before training camp. I'm sure everything is running smooth in Pittsburgh with Penguins training camp as we welcome their outstanding radio voice, Josh Getzoff. Hey, Josh, welcome back to the program. Can you give me the vibe around the brand new training camp in Pittsburgh? I'm sure it's got to be excitement.
Yeah, Rod, thank you, and great to be back with you again. I think excitement probably is the correct word when it comes to the vibe here in Pittsburgh right now, and that starts at the top. I mean, it began with Kyle Dubas coming on board earlier this summer as the president of hockey operations and the general manager, and then you talk about the moves that he made within his department, the moves that he made within his lineup, and the roster additions here. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of optimism. And I think those are probably the two buzzwords that kind of highlight this day one of training camp here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, how much of a boost is it going to be? Obviously, you mentioned the general manager, but Erik Karlsson as well. Like, I'm talking like a jump up in the standings. You guys missed last year, cost some people their jobs. What's the expectation this year, do you think, with the Norris Trophy winner coming into town?
Well, anytime you can add a Norris Trophy winner, I think that immediately your expectations get lifted, even if you didn't make the playoffs last year. But to add a guy like Erik Karlsson, who's headed to the Hockey Hall of Fame when it's all said and done, 100-point season last year, there's a lot of reason for excitement. And for me, the biggest reason for excitement is because you look at this Penguins blue line now, Rod, and between him and Chris Letang, it's reasonable to think that 2+ periods of the game are going to have those two guys on the ice, one or the other. So you have two just incredibly dynamic, offensively gifted, but also really great skating and puck-moving defensemen that are both on that right side, one after the other. Whether it's Karlsson-Letang or Letang-Karlsson, the options are there for Mike Sullivan. And I think that makes the Penguins a better team because they love to, they love defensemen that can make that first pass and stretch the ice. Those two guys do it incredibly well. And you know what, quite honestly, they can also just drive the offense themselves and carry it the length of the ice, as we've seen both do time and time again. So the options are aplenty, and I think the two guys that will be next to them, whether it's Ryan Graves and Chris Letang, or Ryan Graves and Erik Karlsson, or Marcus Pedersen and Chris Letang, for Marcus Pedersen and Erik Karlsson. Those two guys are going to be shouldering a heavier load than they have in the past, but I think that they're both up for it. And that top four of the Penguins on paper looks really good, and it starts to put the pieces in place that you hope will be not only a return to the postseason, but maybe some success after that as well.
They know hockey in Pittsburgh, obviously. They've had a team for a real long time. So they would know who Erik Karlsson was. Could you just, I know you probably don't want to look back, but what was the feel in town when the trade was made? Because that's not a small tweak to a roster that missed the playoffs last year.
No, it's not. And I can tell you there were the rumors, I believe, right before the draft that something might go down. And even on the first day of free agency, that Kyle Dubas was close to striking a trade with Mike Greer and the San Jose Sharks. But it kind of, it wasn't that it dissipated. I think the excitement and the hope was there. But you hadn't really heard anything for a few weeks, and you're starting to get into the dog days of August. And then all of a sudden, bang, that trade goes down on a Saturday. I believe it was the first Saturday of August, early in the month. And you look at the trade. First of all, when you see that kind of a move, you wonder what's going the other way, because this is obviously, as we mentioned, a dynamic player, a player that changes the whole, perspective of your team, honestly. And for the Penguins to move away what they felt were, salaries that could not only help them in their cap situation, but also give other guys opportunities in their lineup, and Jeff Petrie and Jan Ruda and Mikhail Granlund, and throw a couple picks in there, which are understandable given what you're acquiring. I think you still look at that trade, Rod, and it's not any question. The best player in the trade was Erik Karlsson. The best player in the trade's coming to the Penguins. So it was masterfully done by Kyle Dubas, and it really gave this team a serious shot in the arm of excitement, but then also swagger, because you get a guy like Erik Karlsson, he comes on board, and he just brings immediate credibility. He brings immediate respect. And he changes a little bit of the dynamic behind closed doors in the dressing room, too, which is not always a bad thing, especially when, as you mentioned, you missed the playoffs last year.
No doubt. Since we're in training camp, what are the stories? How many jobs are open? What are you watching this week and in the preseason?
Yeah, you know what? I got to say, this is as busy of a training camp as the Penguins have had probably in the last 5 or 6 years. And I say that because there's a lot of jobs up for grabs. It's, Karlsson is here, Riley Smith is here, Lars Eller is here, Noel Acciari, Matt Nieto. There are a lot of additions by Kyle Dubas to his roster. But where I look around is there's certain positions that have the battles going on. And that's not always been the case the last couple of years. But for this Penguins team, I mentioned the top four defensemen. There'll be some combination, if they're all healthy, of Ryan Graves, Chris Letang, Marcus Pedersen, and Erik Karlsson. That's set. It's just a matter of who's playing with who. This third defensive pair is where it gets a little interesting, and that's going to be one of the big competitions here in camp. They brought in Mark Pysyk and Libor Hayek on PTOs, but they also have P.O. Joseph, who had a really nice season last year as his first full NHL year. Ty Smith, who came over, a former first-round pick from New Jersey in the John Marino deal. They have Chad Ruedel here, who's always been a steady depth defenseman for the Penguins. Mark Friedman, ditto to that. So there are pieces here that are battling for that spot. And then you go to the forward group, and I think it still needs to be decided as to what that bottom six is going to look like. And even in the top six, with no Jake Gensel for the first, Kyle Dubas has put the number at 5 games that he's hoping he misses. But even if it's 5, that's 2 weeks of the season that you're into right there. They need to figure out who's going to be up with Sidney Crosby to start the season. Based on what we saw today, and of course the caveat being it's day one, Vinny Hinostroza actually was the guy skating with Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust. So there's a lot to still be decided. You haven't even played a preseason game yet. But those are some of the aspects of camp that make it a lot more intriguing as far as the competition and the spots up for grabs, as you mentioned, than maybe we'd seen in the past.
Well, that is a wonderful update. And Josh, we'll let you get back to work. I appreciate the time. And when you come through Sunrise, I'll give you a nudge in the press box. Have a great season.
Looking forward to it, Rod. We'll see you down there. And hopefully we'll bring some sun with us, although I don't know if we have to do that much work down there.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Josh. Josh gets off, the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hey, the sun just came out here. How about that for the first time today? We'll be right back with a sports update. Yeah. The text line's open, 902-518-3033 for EMJ Marketing. We'll do some open line. World Series champion Greg Zahn coming up in hour 2. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here for a good time, not a long time in this segment. And pay attention, it's going to get a little spicy here. And I'm sorry to have to do this. I'm sorry to have to do this, but I do and I will. And I just hang on 1 second. From the text line, EMJ Marketing brings it to you. They have the perfect keynote speaker for your event, 902-518-3033. Bomber Boy in Calgary. He's fine. Bomber Boy in Calgary says the Pens have to stay 100% healthy and the Big Four have to have career years. with all-star goaltending. Otherwise, who are they supplanting in the East? Good point, Bomber Boy, but that's how they play the games. Who expected New Jersey to do what they did last year? Or I should say that's why they play the games. Todd in Red Deer. This is the guy. And I know him personally, but Todd, you got to listen up to this. He writes in, hey, Rod, I agree 100% with your comments on Roy Shivers. I don't think many people remember how bad the Riders were before Mr. Hobson came on. Then he hired Shivers and he hired Danny Barrett, and they led the Riders out of the wilderness, both on and off the field. He deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. Love the show. Todd, I love your support, but you couldn't be more wrong. Your facts are wrong, and that's why I don't get in these debates. Roy Shivers was hired on Christmas Eve, 1999, and shortly after hired Danny Barrett as his head coach. They lasted 7 seasons together. Jim Hobson came in 2005, and he fired Roy Shivers and then Danny Barrett. He did not hire them. They hate each other, okay? So, again, please don't argue with me on Rough Riders history. And did I say this isn't the Rough Riders show? Because it's not. But if we're going to debate, and some would say argue, you got to have your facts right. Otherwise, we can't participate in the debate. How about this one? Corbin in Sylvan Lake, Alberta. Good morning, Rod. Corbin here from Sylvan Lake, kind of defending the people who say that coaches know everything, because sure, you can say that the Riders coaching staff got the quarterback situation right, but what about the Elks? You can't tell me that Chris Jones was right about Trey Ford being behind Cornelius and Jarrett Daggy in the depth chart, and for how long it happened, too. You think Jones keeps his job if they somehow make the playoffs? He's keeping his job no matter what. If they weren't firing him when they were 0-9, why would they fire him now? Number one. Number two, if you know how football teams work, and I saw this from Chris Jones firsthand, he defers to his offensive coach because he's a defensive guy. Stephen McAdoo is his boy. He's a lieutenant in the Jones Army. McAdoo is the one who steadfastly wanted to play the other guy, Taylor Cornelius. But at 0-9, they had no choice. A change had to be made. Pardon me. So they get McAdoo out as the offensive coordinator, move in Jarius Jackson. He was a Trey Ford guy. The guy there with blood on his hands in Edmonton is Stephen McAdoo. Everybody was pointing the finger at him, even my good friends like Eddie Steele. And that's kind of why I wonder why some people can say things and get away with it and others can't, but I also don't care anymore. As I said to Darren yesterday, I'm not at the end of my rope. I've let go of that rope. Who really cares anymore? I'm going to say it the way that it is, and this is it. Jones always defers to the offensive coaches. He's got enough to do on defense. That coach screwed up. So, yes, they do screw. I know what you're saying with the Rider coaches. And all I'm saying is, no, a light did not go out, but it kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Maybe Todd's right that Dolegala is better than Mason Fine. And if that's the case, hand in your resume at Mosaic Stadium. But the coaches deemed otherwise. Stephen from North Dakota writes in and says, greetings and no hallucinations from sunny 11 degrees, Juneau, North Dakota. Is that Celsius? I sure hope so. He says, will the Giants have a giant win over the 49ers tonight? We'll talk about next hour and get into more of your questions and comments after this brief pause on Game Plus and WQEE Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League. Friday, the Saskatchewan Roughriders at the Ottawa Red Blacks. Montreal at Calgary. The Hamilton Tiger Cats at the Toronto Argonauts. The one I'm most interested in the result is the BC Lions at the Edmonton Elks. If Edmonton wins that game, and I haven't even looked at the point spread yet, it's chaos in the CFL West standings if Edmonton wins this game.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. I'm sure producer Clark is wondering why I'm smiling as we set sail on hour 2 of Canada's daytime sports talk show. And I guess for fans of us in the United States of America, 31 states that we air in, I'm laughing because it's like, what are you going to do? Let me know the very second that Darren DuPont is available. There he is. He's with us. Moose is with us. And this is why I say, Darren, you always come in at a good time in hour 2 to kind of bring me down, because the people, and not in a good way, because flying sky high with some of our audience. And I will say this, a kudos to Todd in Red Deer, who says, thanks for the correction. Again, I love the story. I love the show, but I did get another Roy Shivas story, which we'll get into that. He wanted to debate things and had his history wrong, so I corrected him on that, and he said it was like a shaking hands, good thing, right? But sometimes just dealing with people. Todd's a good guy. All of our audience are good people, even Jeff the Stamps fan. But sometimes dealing with the public. We're sitting here every day dealing with the public, live on the air. So we kind of get it. You've been to Brooklyn Water Bagel with us here in South Florida. We think of our friend Scott, who used to work there. He doesn't anymore, because he was just a guy when you walked into Brooklyn Water Bagel, which is a coffee shop in Boca, a chain. He just had stress written all over his face just from dealing with people. And it reminded me of a guy by the name of Lawrence, a hotel manager in Medicine Hat, dealing with people. We stood in line waiting to check into a hotel in Medicine Hat last summer, and poor Lawrence, who we knew went to high school with Terry Clark. But in both cases, Serena said, I bet you Scott and Lawrence just go home and get baked at the end of the day. just to get through the night.
How
You know,
about that?
dealing with people.
Yeah.
And that is not an option here. Not for me. I don't know if it is for Darren or not. I don't think so. Not with hair like that. You hear that thunder?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
We may still get a sprinkle before the day is over. So anyways, talking about some things on national television here, Game Plus TV across all of Canada and 31 U.S. states. Where are we? Steven Stamkos was a popular topic. He is frustrated, disappointed that the Lightning will not open up contract talks on his deal, which expires at the end of this season. It is what it is. But 70% of respondents saying they don't think he'll finish his career in Tampa, which on our Key Auto Group poll, which when you think about that, probably is a safe bet when you start to think about guys that bounce around to different teams at the end of their career. And I would be disappointed if that happened with Steven Stamkos. But it is what it is, and you brought up a really good point. Yzerman drafted him, and Stevie Y is long gone. Maybe he's just not a Julien Brisebois guy. There's that, you know. But some very unpredictable roads in sports. Were you going to say something, sorry?
Well, look at some like longtime face of the franchise type people, right? I look at me growing up. So Jerome McGinley in Calgary never finished his career there. Matt Sundin in Toronto didn't finish. Saku Koivu in Montreal. Paul Kariya in Anaheim didn't finish his career there, right? Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, we would have thought that would have been a slam dunk for them to finish their careers in Chicago. That's not happening. You know, so, you know, I wonder about the Pittsburgh group. I know they signed him and Crosby, Letang, Malkin, but it is rare that you finish a career with one organization.
It's turning out to be that way. I don't know why I can barely hear Darren. Is that a me thing, guys, at the Millennium Falcon, or is that a... Yeah, your volume's down, Darren. Turn it up, please. And thank you. Brian, watching in Hudson Bay, writes in on the text line for EMJ Marketing, and he says Stamkos will have to take a pretty good decrease to stay with Tampa. How long before Toronto media gets him wanting to finish his career in the Big Smoke? LOL, because everyone wants to be there, right? I don't laugh at that as much anymore after Matthews signed his extension there. So maybe there is something to playing in Toronto, which quite a few things popping into my head here. I do want to talk about tonight's NFL Thursday Nighter. The New York Football Giants at the San Francisco 49ers. It's the lone game on a Thursday night on Prime, I'm assuming. The 49ers are favored by 10.5. But just to give you a little note, Darren, on, you know, as I said, I've been turning off my television, turning off my radio, maybe a little too soon, because I've been missing the ending of games. Waking up the next day, not realizing who won and forgetting to look. Right? So I did have my radio. I turned it on yesterday. WQAM. You've been with me in the Jeep. It's the greatest thing in the world, ripping around listening to that. You got your 2-0 Dolphins sitting atop the AFC East, and you know what they're talking about? They're ripping Dak Prescott, saying he's not that good. And I'm just, why? I'm not complaining. Dak Prescott's got a lot to a lot to prove to me. But I'm like, why do we have to sit in a world of everybody just bashing each other? I just am very uncomfortable with it. And I don't feel like you like to do that. We don't do that here.
Not at all. No, I mean, the team's 2-0. I guess, you know, maybe they're just so used to complaining about something, so you got to find another team. You know, and the Cowboys are top of mind. Lots of Dallas fans in every pocket of North America. But that game tonight's interesting. We like to look at and try and figure out who's the best. You asked me yesterday, I think, who the best 2-0 team was, and I said Dallas. Yeah. Dallas, as you said, motorboated the Giants in Week 1. San Francisco is widely regarded as the top team in the league, maybe top 2 or 3. Now they'll play the Giants. Now, don't expect 40-0 because a lot of things went Dallas's way, and it was raining and, blocked kicks and that kind of thing. But see how well the Giants play against the 49ers, and it might give you an indication of just how good this Dallas Cowboys team is.
We're just so young in a season.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put it out there, but Dak could still get hurt. My mind went to Zach when John Ohm in Winnipeg put in the universe about Zach Caleros getting hurt that night in Edmonton, and then he did. Again, I don't care. I've been a Cowboys fan long enough. And a lot of our older viewers will understand, as we are the #1 rated show in the 55-plus age demographic across Canada, moving into the United States in that demographic. I've been around long enough to know who cares who's the best team in September. Remember Allen Iverson? What are we talking about, September? Might as well be talking about practice. Best team. Is there not something else that we could talk about? It's my bad for bringing up the point. I get that, but it's meaningless. 902-518-3033 for EMJ Marketing, or for those watching on the streams, you can plug in on the chat there. Blue Jays at the Yankees tonight. I'm expecting, I shouldn't speak for you, Aaron Boone to be fired as the skipper of the Yankees after his disastrous season. He was kicked out of the game last night for the 33rd time of his career. How come he gets to act like that? I don't get it. Blue Jays winning 6-1 last night. I blew my stack yesterday. To the degree that I do on somebody. It didn't feel good, And I don't understand. How come Aaron Boone can do it? I don't get it.
I don't know how they actually do it.
Go ahead. Say what?
Like physically. I don't know how they actually do it. I don't know that I could physically, kick dirt on the plate and get right in the face of the umpire and yell at him like that. I don't know if I could physically do it. That would be a hard thing to do.
A lot of that's for show. By the way, Robert Campbell watching writes in and says, "Hey, Rod, viewing from Vegas, Elks plus 8.5. And what I got at Bet Regal is Elks plus 6.5. And to be honest, their odds makers are really good. I don't know how they do it, but their odds makers are really good. Yeah. And that's why Serena's so good at. She's like, hey, maybe this is going on and you don't know about it. Maybe that's going on and you don't know it. She's very good that way. Because you don't see me blow my stack very often at all. Hey, we talked Pittsburgh Penguins last hour, and I want to hear for a second. Josh Getzoff was on with us, the radio voice of the Penguins, and he was great. Why wouldn't they be excited with Erik Karlsson in town? And obviously Kyle Dubas running the show. Jay in Winnipeg writes in from the streaming. He says, in my opinion, a guy who's a defenseman and is minus 26 on a losing team doesn't cut it as a Norris winner. I know he got 100-plus points, but he isn't the best defenseman in the league. He's simply another high-octane forward. You could sit and debate that till the cows come home, and it's 1:11 Eastern, by the way, as I look up 11:11 Mountain. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's why we have a vote. To sit and complain about the results of a vote, unless you're Donald Trump, I don't feel is a worthwhile expenditure of your time. Did I think Erik Karlsson was going to win the Norris last year or deserves? I'm kind of with you, Jay. I get it. But I see the people that vote on these awards, and they don't know whether a hockey puck is made of rubber or chocolate. What are we going to do about that, Darren? I don't get it.
Everybody's got a different idea on what a good defenseman is and the best defenseman. I mean, a defenseman who's, primary contribution is offensive, is different from somebody who's a shutdown defensive defenseman and you don't have a lot of great stats to track it. They have more stats now than they've ever had, but, it's hard, right? Points are easy. I can look at how many points you have and decide if you're contributing or not in a lot of cases. But, yeah, I mean, he put up the points. Was Bobby Orr then, by definition, the best defenseman? Putting up all the points he did? Yeah, I mean, best player at that position. He contributed in a different way than other defensemen.
$11.5 million per year and the reigning Norris Trophy winner. Somebody thinks he's good.
Yeah.
So that's not to even say that we're right. Before we move on to some other things, and I will check in on the text line at 902-518-3033. Our hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company. Head down to the tap room, 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, Thursday through Saturday, 12 to 8 p.m. And check out Common Crown Brewing Company at commoncrown.ca. The poll question is, do you think Steven Stamkos will finish his career as a Tampa Bay Lightning? It's brought to you by Key Auto Group. At the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence, knowing that they provide reports on all the vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. And over 70%, last I looked, on Twitter. I actually split up the vote, and I should have told Clark that I was doing this. Here it is. 51% saying no, he won't finish his career there. 40% saying yes, he will, and 9% saying, I didn't even know he was upset. And this slipped under your radar, too. You had to, ask me where this story came from. Do me a favor, please, because I'm sitting down here in South Florida, and I'm literally the only one on the air talking about a Sunbelt team that I know of in the National Hockey League right now. So call me crazy if you want. What are they saying in Canada about the National Hockey League on day one of training camps? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing a lot of conversation, actually. The big one that I've seen lately is Elias Pedersen and William Nylander. You kind of split this country, go one side and the other. Both have, expiring contracts. One, and Pedersen's going to be an RFA. I think Willie's going to be a UFA. So you got two big key pieces of those two franchises, going into camp kind of with uncertain futures. So that was one of the big conversations that I've seen early on. And then just some little position battles and things like that here and there early.
Of course, talking about the Leafs. Robin in Prince Albert says, do they need a new defensive award, best defensive defenseman? Well, of course they do. And kudos to Gord Miller, my good friend Gordy Miller. He's the one that got the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy brought in for the leading goal scorer in the NHL. Why can't they have a defensive defenseman award? They've got a defensive forward award, the Bob Gainey award, now the Patrice Bergeron award, because they win it all the time. I clearly don't have enough clout to make that happen in any league, much less the Canadian Football League, because we talked last hour about Kelly Jeffrey and the wonderful job he's done as the offensive coordinator of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. In case you missed it, down to a third-string quarterback. He's got 3 receivers on pace to be 1,000-yard receivers. Haven't looked at the offensive line stats, which to me are rushing yards, total and per rush, and sacks allowed. I haven't looked at them, but I know they're pretty good. Why do we not have a Coordinator of the Year award? They do in the NFL. Why do we not have a General Manager of the Year award in the CFL? They do every other league, but not a whole lot has changed. And by the way, I will say this, because in my commentary today, I didn't blast the CFL, but I just brought up how they don't like change. The one thing they did bring in, I'll give Randy Ambrosie a lot of credit for at least trying something, is the global player experiment. But it didn't work. And if you want to look at it from a union perspective, Darren, you're a Canadian university football broadcaster. How would you like to be a Canadian kicker or punter? How'd you like to do that? Because of the CFL's global experiment, you're out of a job. Sucks to be you. Nobody talks about that. No. So anyways, we'll be back because there's still some points that I haven't gotten to yet that I want to address with you. We'll be right back. And Greg's on. You think I'm controversial? Greg Zahn coming up later on in hour 2. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio. Bye, Allie. I didn't know you were there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
2 million liters of power creates electricity. Electricity creates.
View Casino. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, collectors, register for the Premier Sports Card Convention, where collectors, enthusiasts, and sports lovers unite to celebrate the beauty and value of their treasured items, taking place in Red Deer, Alberta, in the Parkland Pavilion, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Get your tickets and more information at premiersportscardcon.ca. It is the RP Show, coming your way on Game Plus Television, also on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE. Oh, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Darren Moose Dupont is in the sweatpants capital in the NHL's Bermuda Triangle. I wanted to talk about Lionel Messi. Did play last night, and I mentioned it earlier for Inter Miami. One thing they were saying on the radio today in Miami, I know nobody cares about this, I'm just passing it along. They beat Toronto FC last night 4-0. And they're saying if Messi plays, Inter Miami wins. If he doesn't play, they lose. End of story. It's that cut and dry. I guess he's not going to play on the weekend because he's got overall muscular soreness. But at $30 million a year, I would say suck it up, Lionel. But he's played a lot of soccer lately. Do you remember a player as dominant that you would say when he doesn't play, you lose. When he does play, you win? Like he's
not in any sport.
He's that important. Yeah, in any sport.
In any sport,
yeah.
I haven't seen this. Sometimes you saw it with ace pitchers. You go back to Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson. No, it's rare, man. It is very rare that you see this, if ever. And we've seen stars come to the MLS. David Beckham, just comes to mind. But nobody like Lionel Messi's had this type of impact this fast. And it's wild. But I think they're, regardless, they say they're probably too far out of a playoff spot anyways. But, man, this has been something else.
Yeah, I expected more Messi mania when I got back home here because it was getting crazy when he was first showing up at the start of the MLR. You saw jerseys everywhere, billboards. Now you don't see a whole lot. BW from Edmonton writes in, he says he's crossing into the US of A. He's a trucker watching us in his truck. Welcome. God bless America and drive safe. Thank you, BW from Edmonton. I tell you what, we have our regular Rod Squad. It's our whack pack of people that tune in every day and write in every day. We've got new viewers, as we mentioned, 2 million new homes we're in on Shaw Cable, Channel 230, but obviously we're on all the others. Or as Darren pointed out, almost all the others. But Wayne in Victoria, BC is a whack packer, a Rod Squad member. And I'll tell you, he's really impressing me because he's not just a Rider fan. He writes in and says, yeah, Bobby Orr created a controversy because he was so good offensively. I think a defenseman should be judged on his defensive ability more than his offensive output. Just my opinion. Who has taken over Wayne and Victoria, BC's phone or computer? Because this guy, he took off the green goggles for a second to write that bit of golden nuggetry. And speaking of the Rod Squad, Ted and Red Deer says, who would be the best defensive defenseman in the NHL? I have no idea. That's the whole idea of these awards, to give recognition to them. I don't know who it would be either. But I do kind of find it interesting when people complain about the results of any awards in the leagues. And how often do they say, who votes on this stuff? You'd be surprised. So anyways, thanks everyone for playing. Just to recap where we were. Last hour, we played Deal or No Deal for our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal, where Darren and I looked at the Week 16 games just as a helper to the Canadian Football League. The games are these: Friday night doubleheader, Sask at Ottawa. We kicked that all around. BC at Edmonton is the late game of the doubleheader. Saturday, Montreal at Calgary, and Hamilton at Toronto. Let's keep the comments coming in. I could turn to the text line, 902-518-3033. Jim Wagner, thank you. He's in Belgoni, Sask. He says, morning RP crew and RP Nation. Greg Zani is a real beauty. Go Pats, Jays, and Riders. I did want to talk about the junior hockey stuff for a second. There's a lot of people that have written in multiple times. I got to try and limit this to one comment per person per show. But the MLB playoffs, I'm at a point, and I've totally changed. I'm going to give myself a little credit here. 5 years ago, I was the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and it was the only team I paid attention to. That's it. You knew me then. I didn't know anything about anything else, because your job is to know every single thing there is to know about that team. That's your job. Call the games, cover them every day. That's it. Now, I've learned a lot about all the other leagues, and it is a lot, but I've also realized that with the Blue Jays, if they're not in the playoffs, I'm not really going to be following the playoffs. I know there's Mariners fans in the Pacific Northwest, obviously, but Vancouver, where we have a lot of viewers, and we're on the radio in Atlanta. But Yankees aren't in it. To me, October baseball is a not frigid, but chilly, nip in the air, Yankee Stadium. Yeah, dun, 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 dun. FD New York hats, Fire Department New York hats. You know what I mean? Joe Torre. That's fall baseball. And if I can't have it, I'm not watching. You?
I know. If the Jays aren't in it, it will definitely take the interest level down. But, some of those other historic teams will be in it. The Dodgers are playing really well. They're going to be in the playoffs and right in the mix for a World Series. But you're right. It's the Yankees, the Red Sox. They're not in it. It doesn't seem right, does it? But it'll still be fun. I don't know how much I'll watch down the stretch, but my fandom and interest level, being a hockey and football guy, typically rises and falls as the Jays do. So when they're out, I'm kind of out.
Right. NFL playoffs, however, we watch them all, whether our team's in it or not, And for me, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, thank you for answering the bell. Bill in Toronto. Bill Sansi's watching on Game Plus Television. We were asking earlier, what dominance have we seen in a sport or a league compared to what Lionel Messi's doing here with Inter Miami? And Bill says, how about Pele? He's a new viewer. He needs to know. I just became a soccer expert when Messi showed up this summer. That's the first time I started caring. Even with the World Cup, with Canada and the great things they're doing with John Herdman and Canadian women winning a gold medal at the Olympics. I wasn't following what they were doing in any other games or friendlies or CONCACAF tournaments. What? Now I got enough on my plate. It's not interesting. He's the sexy story.
Yeah.
But is that how far we got to go back, Pele, to say dominance by a guy? Nah, it's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady is the correct answer.
It's Tom. It's not even Gretzky, because we're not talking about dominance as an individual player necessarily. We're talking about impact on the team.
Yeah.
You said a player shows up, and when he plays, they win. When he doesn't, they lose. Forget about the goals he's scoring and all of that, right? I mean, I don't think we're going to... I mean, you and I would be pretty quick to put Gretzky at the top of all-time great players in any sport, no matter what. But it wasn't the case that he shows up, they win. I mean, they won in Edmonton. They didn't win in L.A. They didn't win in St. Louis. They didn't win in New York, right? With Tom, he won in New England. And then he showed up in Tampa, and he won there too. And when he plays, they win. And they were always in that conversation to win a Super Bowl. And Messi will lose games. Miami will lose games at some point against somebody. But right now, it's not happening.
No, well, Jay in Winnipeg writes in and says, Lawrence Taylor. And I love me some LT, but no. It's Tom Brady. You just said it. 6 Super Bowls in New England, and since he left, they can't find their ass with both hands. And I slowly coming around on this because I'm a Tom fan, and, well, he lives here now. Serena and I talk about it all the time. How could you hate Tom Brady? But there are people that do. And not only did you say he went to Tampa Bay and won, New England hasn't won since. So, hey, it's a clash of egos. All good things come to an end, and you got to move on. But it's tougher for some people to accept than others. But listen, I know that this is, well, yes, Michael Jordan, same thing. Thank you, Jay in Winnipeg. Although he never won anywhere else after he showed up in Charlotte, or Washington, specifically, or Charlotte as an owner. Because believe it or not, I do follow the NBA. But yes, MJ 6 titles in Chicago. But again, an ego thing happened there too. We all watched The Last Dance. So if we put Messi in the class of MJ and Tom Brady, that's not too bad of a class to be in. But Jim, Darren, in Greg Zahn coming up, by the way, World Series champion with these Florida Marlins. Last time I talked with Zahny on the phone, just mano a mano, he's like, yeah, I didn't really like South Florida. Won a World Series here, but he doesn't really care for it. I said, why not? And he goes, everybody's walking around all shiny. The sweat. Everybody's sweating all the time. What the hell's wrong with that? Zani doesn't want to be that guy. He doesn't want to be a sweater. What are you got to know him at the Grey Cup last year. Ballers Rec Room brought him in for the Twisted Tea Party. Was that the first time you'd met Greg Zahn in person? What did you think of him?
In person, Greg Zahn is one of a kind. He is unapologetically, authentically himself. And he likes what he likes. You know, he wants to be, I think it's in Ohio, right? Wants to be up in Ohio.
Cleveland,
not down in the sun in Florida. I mean, whatever. I mean, but he is a polar. He still has that face, and he shows up. Pay attention, and they want to be around him.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. He is yet to be replaced on television by Sportsnet. We watch all the games, but the network doesn't care. The Blue Jays don't care. You just gotta say sayonara. Go your separate ways. Jeff Gordon watching. Thank you from the cheap seats. He's been sitting here all day, laying in the weeds. He says, Jeff Gordon says, Zahn was a hoot in person at Ballers. Oh, yeah. He's like a lot of us. A lot of fun at parties. And I will give Zani a lot of credit. He was, I think, the last to leave, was he not? I think I was the first to leave. And I stayed till midnight as it was. So, yeah, love that guy. And he's coming up. Moose, I can handle overtime myself if you want to roll. Is that cool? You good?
That's cool.
Okay. Sayonara. Darren Moose DuPont. Greg Zahn is coming in next. I'm going to tell you right now, please get your questions into me right now. Because when I'm on the air with Zahn, I'm not going to be checking the computer and the text line. So get him in now. World Series champion with the Florida Marlins. Sportsnet great. Entrepreneur. Philanthropist. Greg Zahn joins us next on the Game Plus Television Network. WQEE Radio. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Time to talk a little baseball. If you don't know by now, the Blue Jays look to complete a 3-game sweep of New York with a win at the Yankees tonight. They picked up their 5th win in a row, 6-1 Wednesday. We might get around to the Toronto Blue Jays with our next guest, Greg Zahn. Maybe, maybe not. 16 years in the majors, World Series champion of the Florida Marlins down here. Zahny looking very regal, joining us from the throne. What's up today, GZ?
Well, not much. Just grinding away. Just finished my first year coaching pro ball, and kind of it's that time of year where the player development programs, they start looking for new instructors and managers. And you know, my new goal in life is to manage a big league team, and I know I got to stop along the way and kind of catch my groove in the minor leagues, managing clubs, and that's what I'm looking for right now. I'm trying to find a job managing minor league baseball. Just like I said, I just finished my first year in pro ball up in the Pioneer League. And it was fun, and it kind of got the juices flowing again. My first time on the field since I retired. So it was very rewarding. The kids were great. They got better. I think we ended up like 14 games over 500 for the season. So that was pretty good. That's what I'm doing right now. Just kind of unemployed and trying to find a gig and multiple gigs, whatever. Just, living the life.
Well, you entrepreneur sounds a lot better than unemployed. You're joking, of course. I know. Well, you are and you aren't. Yeah.
It does. But, the reality of it is Donnie ain't got no job.
Well, listen.
I closed down Greg's Unincorporated a few years ago when I left Canada. So we're not actively trying to build that 200-acre, tournament and showcase facility in Canada. And when I left, it was kind of a bad time in the world with the pandemic going on, and nobody really wanted to spend $800 million on baseball fields. So I had to kind of walk away and pivot and find something new.
Yeah, you will always survive because you are a winner. And speaking of that, doesn't surprise me your ball club did well this year, but your Instagram account is private, so I appreciate you accepting me to follow. And it just looks like you had a riot up there in the northern United States and Pacific Northwest. All of it.
Yeah.
What did you love about it?
Really
aside from the baseball?
Yeah, the baseball was unbelievable. I mean, the Kelly family put together a $40 million facility. It's the nicest minor league facility I've seen, short of a major league spring training complex. They've got all the gadgets, the bells and the whistles, all turf field. You look out the right field vista, and it's the Glacier National Park. And a lot of the clips that I was posting during the summertime was just my view from the front seat of the bus. Just breathtaking. Mountains, rivers, streams, lakes, nature. I was living on top of Big Mountain, which is one of the best ski hills in Montana. And every day driving up and down the mountain, I'd see elk, deer, fox, coyotes. There was rumored to be a mountain lion up there, bears. I mean, just at peace and out there in nature and loving every minute of it. It was a blast.
Well, I love following it, so I don't know if anybody else said it to you. Thanks for posting that stuff, because I really enjoyed following it. To the MLB, if you don't mind, Aaron Boone got tossed for a 33rd time. since he's been the skipper of the Yankees last night. Like, I would assume he's going to be fired this year because they had a terrible season. But what is it with this guy? It's his 6th time this season.
Well, I mean, frustration boiling over. I mean, I played against Aaron. I played against his brother. I know his dad. That's a competitive family. I mean, it's a 3-generation big league family. Ray Boone, the grandfather, was a big leaguer. Bob, 2 brothers. They want to win. And, there's an enormous amount of pressure there in New York. And, things aren't going well. And, sometimes a manager needs to, get tossed, so to speak, to stick up for his players, to voice his frustration over bad calls, going against the ball club. Sometimes it's just one of those things where it makes absolutely no sense to get tossed other than to light a fire under your club, to kind of let them know that you've had enough without actually going into the clubhouse and telling them, I've had enough. It depends on, how much they know about you as a man. But it seems childish to most people, but there is a method to the madness in most cases. There's a reason for it. And, I don't blame Aaron for being frustrated with the performance of the Yankees this year. But, at the end of the day, look at the philosophy, look at the organizational direction. Obviously, he'll probably be the guy that falls on the sword at the end of the year. But how much of it is really his fault? Because we don't know what kind of conversations are happening in his office when nobody else is in the stadium. We don't know how many times he's been summoned to Brian Cashman's office to discuss something. We don't know whether or not Aaron Boone is really managing that ball club or it's the analytics department, like it is in some places. So it's very difficult to know what is actually going on behind the scenes. But there are a lot of managers out there who will be the good soldier and fall on the sword when things don't go as expected and they want to protect their job. They want to protect the front office. The way Kevin Cash did when he had absolutely no choice but to pull, Ian Snell in that game against the Dodgers. Everybody in baseball that didn't have, a degree from the Ivy League knew that Snell was dominating and he should have stayed in that ball game. But that 6-inch binder, that Kevin Cash has to walk around with told him what to do. And by golly, he's going to follow it because he wants to keep his job and he wants to keep his bosses happy. As a collective, they made a decision. They formulated a path. The guy at the end of the rope, like Kevin Cash or Aaron Boone, we don't know what's going on there. So, I mean, a lot of times these guys are just being good soldiers, being good employees, and doing what they're told.
More teams running their teams off analytics or less? Is it 50-50, 60-40? What would you say?
I'd say it's higher than 60-40. I think there are some teams out there that are hybrids, and I think there are more teams coming back to a more practical, more baseball-centric experience, baseball-centric type of situation. I think you're going to see a bit of a renaissance here coming up where guys like me who understand the analytics, who understand the tools, the tech tools that can be utilized in the most wonderful ways to evaluate and make players better. I experienced it for the first time this summer. You need a cross section. You can't all be numbers, and it can't all be, blood and guts, old school baseball guys with leather necks. It has to be a combination of both. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think the analytics guys belong in the cubicle right outside, the corner office of the baseball guys or the president who is the business guy. They can't be the ones that are driving the bus because there are a lot of things that these computer gadgets can't measure. Can't measure heart, can't measure determination, can't measure a lot of these innate things, these intangibles. And a lot of times these intangibles are the difference maker between winning and losing, championship and also ran. Do I believe in the analytics? Do I believe in the tech gadgets? Absolutely. I think they're wonderful tools. I think they should be utilized, but they should be utilized by guys who understand them, who also have practical baseball experience like I do. I think the right word is analogy. I can take my pickup truck and I can fill it with the best tools that Home Depot can sell me and drive it down to a job site. But if skilled workers don't show up to put the tools in their hands, nothing's going to get built. And I think that applies to baseball now more than ever.
I love it, and that's why you're the best baseball analyst in the business. There's no doubt. Not telling you anything that you don't know. But that's like when our analytics people give us the ratings. We're up here, we're down there. This is the demographics. I'm like, thank you, but this is what we're going to do. Right? Thanks for the info, but I'll decide where we're going. Right? And that's baseball is the exact same way.
Well, yeah, and you if you're the president of a team, if you're the owner of a ball club, you agree on a path, or at least you say that you want to go in this direction. And I'll be the first to admit, you go back to the Moneyball, Billy Bean days. Billy had no choice. He had to think outside the box at one point or another with that tiny payroll. Figure out a way to find value where nobody else is looking at it, so you can pay it less and afford to have it in your lineup. I got it. I totally get it. But it didn't win. The formula is great minor league farm system, sprinkle in some free agents at the opportune times. And honestly, when those things happen, your payroll is going to skyrocket because good players are expensive. It's like, do you want a first year model Chevrolet, or do you want a proven S500 Mercedes Benz? Plain and simple. You know what you're getting when you spend the extra money for the S500, but that first year model new type of Chevrolet, you don't know what you're getting. It might look great on the outside, it might purr like a kitten, but hey, it may not get the job done, and you might have a bunch of recalls. So it is what it is, and that it hasn't changed. It's not gonna change. But do I applaud Major League Baseball and the teams for trying to think outside the box and look in a different direction? Sure do. And you know what the analytics have done for baseball? It's opened up a whole new demographic of baseball fan. The guy that never played, who loves numbers, who's fascinated with the game of baseball because of the numbers, now he's a super fan. Whereas before, you get some Neanderthal like me pounding his chest going, hit and run, hit the cutoff man, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't make any sense to them because they never played. Now they can look at the analytics, they can look at spin rates and vertical drops and all these other stuff and have a blast doing it. Guys like me, we know. I don't care about your spin rate if you can't throw the fastball where you want it to go, because you're not going to get anybody out. If you can't pick up the routine ground ball and throw it to first base, we're not going to win. If you can't hit behind the runner, if you can't put the ball in play with runners in scoring position, I don't care what your exit velocity is. You're not going to win. So there are certain things that we can use and point to in order to evaluate players on how much do we want to pay them. Do we want to grab that guy in a free agent market? Do we want to draft him? Sure, we can look at all those things, but you can't measure this and you can't measure this. And so those
Bingo.
are things that we get back to as an industry. And I like to include myself in the industry still because I care. But I think all the new tech and the analytics married with old school baseball could make the game the greatest it's ever been.
Voila. Greg, call me sometime. Great seeing you. Keep in touch.
You betcha. My pleasure, Roddy. Always a pleasure.
World Series champion, all-around great guy, Greg Zahn. We'll be back with Overtime after this. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, it's overtime, and now is your time. It's time for overtime. Proudly brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. If you haven't checked it out yet, this fall is the time to do it. 28th Street Northeast in Cowtown. Phone ahead, book your lanes, and then reach out to me and tell me what you thought of it, because I love it. It's an amusement park for hockey players. Hi, Randy and crew over there. It's a wonderful place. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Sports update. Now's your time to get your comments in. We got 5 minutes left. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033 for EMJ Marketing. We covered the Blue Jays story, obviously. The Chicago Cubs need a win tonight over Pittsburgh to avoid falling into a tie with Miami for the last wild card spot in the National League. The Marlins are idle. Cincinnati and San Francisco are also within striking distance of the Cubs. The Reds have the night off, and the Giants will visit the LA Dodgers. Canadian lineman Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is retiring from pro football. He won the Super Bowl with Kansas City in 2020. He received his medical degree from McGill University in 2018. During the height of COVID, he opted out of the NFL season to volunteer at a Quebec long-term care facility. Biggest news in the NFL right now is Bears defensive coordinator Alan Williams stepping down. He says he needs to tend to his health and family. The resignation comes 2 games into his second NFL season. Williams missed last week's loss at Tampa Bay for what the team said were personal reasons after working the opener against Green Bay. Now there's a rumor that the FBI showed up at the Bears facility. I was listening to Dan Patrick today, and he said there's a story here that you're going to hear maybe by the end of the day. I'm like, come on, Dan.
Spicy.
But I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. You know, but you can't say it. Sports updates are for Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their core 5 Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale, 4 of which sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. Ted in Red Deer says, what a great show. Had a blast. Got to miss tomorrow due to my tea time. How about that? Hit him straight, Ted. Thanks for playing. Thanks for participating. You know, as I said, give me the questions ahead of time, and I'll ask the Zahn ones. I'm just seeing now Robert and Prince Albert saying, hey, Zahn, are we going to see Manoah in a Jays jersey again? Isn't that something? What a sad situation that is. Seems to me that it's all mental. What do you guys think? That's what I think with Alec Manoah. Very unfortunate situation. 902-518-3033 regarding dominant players in a sport. We're saying Messi, as they were saying on the radio here in Miami today, the sports station, which I love. When he plays, they win. When he doesn't play, they lose. Period. Is that an MVP for you or what? It's an odd situation. $30 million a year in a lower-ranked global soccer league, as I understand it. Nowhere near what Messi's used to playing. He's just eating him up. But he wanted to live in South Florida. I get it. Make $30 million. Hello. But who else is dominated like this? The answer is Tom Brady. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in and says, Doug Flutie goated the CFL as a winner when he played. Yes, he did. 2 Grey Cups with Toronto, lost a Grey Cup with Calgary. He didn't have the championships. Yeah, you're right. I don't want to argue with you. I can see what you're saying with Doug Flutie. I say, because I'm old enough to have seen him play live from me to you away, because I was the sideline reporter, there was nobody as good as this guy, Doug Flutie. The old-timers will say that Warren Moon was better, but I wasn't watching the CFL at that time. 30 years, hopefully, is enough of a knowledge bank. A lot more of that tomorrow on a Football Friday. Jim Barker will be with us, mental coach Shane McGowan. We'll preview the weekend in football because there's just too much to get to now. Oh, Reed Johnson, thank you. Thank you from the Mark Cast. Going to be a big one. See you tomorrow, noon Eastern.
Who has more fun than us?